Hey guys, I'm Bobby Childs from Adventures in Whiskey. Thank you so much for joining me. So today's a special one. We're looking at Ardbeg's core range from the new An Oa all the way through Corryvreckan. Plus, we're going to look at the new community release of Grooves. So Ardbeg. Ardbeg is a distillery on Islay. Islay is an island off the west coast of Scotland that's known primarily for its peated whiskies. What's peat? Peat is basically decomposed vegetation. It differs in various parts of the world, depending on the plants that are being decomposed. In this case, for Ardbeg is known for a very heavily peated style. So if you're new to whiskey or new to peated whiskey, I might steer clear of Ardbeg unless you feel like being brave, in which case, by all means, jump headfirst into the deep end. Ardbeg is very, very delicious. I can't say enough about it. So let's get started. New to their core range is An Oa. I believe it's about 40-ish, 45 bucks, something like that. 46.6% ABV. It is a vatting of different cask types. For new charred oak barrels, first fill bourbon casks, ex-sherry casks. They're all dumped in a vat and married for a little while, and out comes An Oa. Not only is it the first in their core range, but it's also sort of the lighter style of Ardbeg, in a sense. Ardbeg is known, again, to be a very heavily peated whiskey, and that's evident here if you're not used to it. But comparatively so, An Oa is a milder type. So those medicinal notes are there, thanks to the peat. It's a little earthy, but it's also balanced by a little bit of vanilla and a little bit of toffee. There's a little fruit in here. It's probably due to whatever amount of sherry cask they're adding to it. Let's give it a taste. Oh, that's good. Before I get into flavor notes, I might point out that the colors. Notice the colors are different. I don't know if you can see them on here. I don't believe Ardbeg adds any coloring to their whiskey. I could be wrong, but I don't think so in this case. Anyway. So you'll notice something very pale like the 10-year-old, and then something a bit more richer color like the Uigeadail or the Grooves. This sits somewhere in the middle. Could be those sherry casks. Sweet, smoky, but very approachable. 46.6% ABV. It's very easy to drink. For me, there's no need to add any water to this. Those smoky notes are there, but again, they're mild. If you don't know Ardbeg, or if you're brand new to Ardbeg, or I might suggest An Oa as your first entry. But I would also pair it with this next one, Ardbeg 10. Ardbeg 10 was, until An Oa came out, the entry in their core range. It's the only one in the core range with an age statement, 10 years old. This one is, if I'm not mistaken, utilizing only ex-bourbon casks for maturation. So it's a more straightforward flavor profile. And again, notice the color. Very very pale. You know, it's like if you're a reader of my blog, Adventures in Whiskey, you know I don't really comment on color. I've got a whole rant about it somewhere. If you look up the color of consistency on the search, you can find it. I'll let you read on. Moving on. Ardbeg 10 is bottled at 46%, non-chill filtered. So if you add a little bit of water, a little ice, and you notice it gets a little cloudy, that's perfectly normal. No need to panic. It's just those fatty acids that are sort of solidifying a little bit. Very natural. So the smoke and peaty quality are ramped up a little bit. But it's also got a nice brightness about it. So you get those maritime notes. You get like a salted caramel. In addition, there's like a nice lemon peel that's livening things up a bit. Some vanilla, a little coconut. Again, that's all these bourbon barrels that they're using, and it, along with the earthy, peaty quality, it all sort of rounds itself out. Very nice. That finish is great. The finish is where I know falls a little short. It's not as long. Here, the notes from the nose carry over into the palate. So all those influences from the bourbon cask come out. So the vanillas and the little bit of like tropical fruit, like coconut. That lemon note is providing some vibrance. But that peated barley, which is Ardbeg's signature, is running full force. It's nice and thick, but it's not overpowering. That's the fun thing. These guys know what they're doing. There's like a campfire smoke. Almost a sort of grilled meat quality. Like a barbecue at a beach sort of thing, and that's something you might find through all of Ardbeg's whiskeys. The finish is a little bit longer than the An Oa, a little spicier than An Oa, not too much, and that sweet smoke sort of carries throughout. It's really nice. I believe Ardbeg 10 runs about $55, something like that. So it's a little bit of a premium above An Oa, and worth it, I think. Next up, Uigeadail. Ardbeg Uigeadail is a little bit stronger, 54.2%, and it also uses sherry casks in its maturation. Sherry casks and peated whiskey together create a wonderful flavor combination that I can't get enough of. It's one of my absolute favorite flavor combinations in whiskey. So Uigeadail, again, because it's matured partly or part of the blend is composed of whiskeys matured in sherry casks. You notice the color is a bit darker. And at this strength, you may or may not want to add some water. The first two, An Oa and 10, they're fine like they are, no water needed. Here's where I start to add a little bit of water. They don't state what kind of sherry, but it's probably Oloroso sherry. And the nose, because of the ABVs, is a bit higher. The nose is more robust, as you'll find in your whiskey adventures. So those wonderful nutty and dried fruits are there. Um, a little bit of vanilla, some earthiness, some wild mushrooms, some smoked meat. Oh, it's nice. Starts off strong, finishes strong. A lot of toffee, a lot of tropical fruit. Sorry, dried fruit. Um, Although there is a little bit of like a grilled pineapple thing going on mid palate. Um, Smoked meats. There's that ashy smoke, a little bit of tar. And you're thinking, tar? What the hell? No, try it. Trust me. Um, don't try tar. Try the whiskey. Um, the finish itself is long, spicier, um, uh, full of zest, and it's a heavy finish. It coats your mouth with that sweet smoke. Um, so you note yourself if you're doing a whiskey tasting and one of the whiskeys is peated, save that one for last because once you try peated whiskey, your taste buds are pretty much ruined for the rest of the day. Good tip to keep in mind. Uigeadail sits at about the $80, $85 mark, if I'm not mistaken. Very, very good. If you notice, out of all the fill levels, I don't know if you can see that, but it's good stuff. Next up, Corryvreckan. Corryvreckan is named after a giant whirlpool north of Isla. Corryvreckan comes in at 57.1%. Seems to me that's almost cast strength. And they're not really saying what's in it. Rumor is there's a high percentage of European oak casks here. Probably some first fill bourbon casks, if I'm not mistaken. What is European oak? It is what it sort of its name implies. It's a little spicier than American oak, a little drier. American oak seems to bring out sort of sweeter vanilla and caramel notes, where and sometimes some tropical fruit. Where European oak will bring out really spicier notes and makes things a little drier. Corryvreckan is about $100, I believe, a bottle, ish, and almost 120 proof. This thing's not playing around. That Ardbeg, smoky, earthy DNA is here in the nose. But there's also some baking spice, which is what leads me to believe there's a lot of European oak here. It's a little bit closed off, so I'm going to add a little bit of water. When it comes to water, you don't have to be. You can be precise with a couple of drops, or you can just add a splash. It's up to you. The only advice I would give, and you've heard me say this a bunch of times, is just don't use tap water. Any sort of bottled water will do. You don't have to, order a bottle from Scotland and pay who knows how much in taxes and fees. Just bottled water's fine. Whatever you're used to drinking. So, this reminds me of a cross between Ardbeg 10 and Uigeadail, with spice notes sort of ramped up. That's sort of exactly what it feels like. The fruit is toned down a little bit. But what fruit is here seems to me more like a grilled pineapple sort of thing. Maybe some coconut. It's nice. Oh, that's rich. Compared to the rest of the Ardbegs, this one is probably the richest. Even though Uigeadail has sherry casks, and sherry whiskey tends to be heavier and richer, Corryvreckan, to me, comes across as the richest. Like I said in the nose, on the palate, those caramel notes are there. The spice notes, there's a nice spice that runs throughout, like cinnamon and clove. That ramps up through the finish. There's a smoked ribs or brisket or some sort of smoked meat with a sweet barbecue sauce on top. Is what I get. There's a little bit of the trademark tar you'll find in Ardbegs, and that big cloud of smoke is just willowing through the entire time. The finish is long, probably the longest of the four. Like I said, I think a bottle of Corryvreckan runs about 100-ish bucks a bottle. Totally worth it if you like Ardbeg. Now, last but not least, Ardbeg Grooves. As this video is hitting, Ardbeg Grooves should be hitting shelves, but you'll see it in a different label. The label will be black instead of cream. The cream color is the limited committee release that comes out before the general release. And the committee release is a little bit higher ABV and runs about 120 bucks. I'm not sure what the standard edition of Ardbeg Grooves runs in the stores. If you know, let me know below, comment. So Ardbeg Grooves is utilizing ex-wine casks that have very deep grooves due to heavy charring, which those grooves, add a little bit more wood contact, which in turn will, impart more flavor to the whiskey, as there's more whiskey contact in the wood. This one is bottled 51.6% ABV. I believe that's cask strength for this. And the wine casks, the toasted wine casks, very evident here in the nose. There's that wine quality, so berries is what I'm getting. Blueberries, raspberries, but they're sort of caramelized. There's that Ardbeg smoke, the peat note, very earthy. That balances the sweetness and the richness brought on by the wine casks. Funny enough, when you smell it, you're expecting a sweet, rich whiskey. When you taste it, it's not as sweet at first. The entry isn't as sweet. Those rich caramelized fruits sort of ramp up as you're tasting. But initially, it's more of an earthier note. So like mushrooms. There's some herbs like basil, tomato. There's some nice waves, like rich vanilla, caramel, and then those caramelized berries from the wine casks come in. The fruit notes sort of ramp up. Underneath it all, again, as you've heard, is that billowing smoke cloud that's found in all the Ardbeg whiskeys to various degrees. In this case, it seems a little bit toned back. It's not like anything like Corryvreckan or Uigeadail, or even 10. To me, it sits somewhere between An Oa and 10 in terms of intensity. The finish, nice, long, sweet, fruity, a lot of caramel, even a little butterscotch, spicy. Not as spicy as Corryvreckan, but just enough to balance things out. It's a wonderful whiskey. I'd love to try the regular release of Grooves. I'm so glad I bought a bottle of the committee release. So, I hope this helps with your Ardbeg questions. If you have any comments or more questions, please comment below. If you like what you see, please subscribe. I'll see you soon. Cheers.